El Chapo, the infamous Mexican drug lord, has once again made headlines with a disturbing message directed toward his sons. As details surrounding the message remain scarce, speculations arise about the potential implications for both the notorious cartel and the safety of those involved. The alarming message shows the enduring influence and reach of El Chapo, even from behind bars. The letter. A letter alleged to be from the notorious drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Archivaldo Guzman Loera appeared on the internet recently. In the letter, he addresses his sons, Los Chapitos, and gives them crucial information on what they should do in the coming months. The letters come while El Chapo is currently serving a life sentence in Colorado, USA. If proven true, this letter was likely transmitted to El Chapo's sons through his attorney, who enjoys attorney-client privilege. El Chapo faces stringent visitor restrictions. The letter serves as a reminder from El Chapo to Los Chapitos to maintain a discreet profile. This cautionary advice stems from the intense scrutiny imposed by U.S. authorities on the López Obrador administration. Additionally, El Chapo urges Los Chapitos to explore favorable negotiation terms for Ovidio Guzman López, also known as El Raton, before risking extradition to the United States. The current status of Los Chapitos remains uncertain, particularly regarding their compliance with their father's counsel to keep a low profile and await a period of relative tranquility. The beginning of the letter, translated from Spanish, reads, "Hello, mi reyes, my kings. It is with great pleasure and affection that I write to you, hoping that you are all doing well. I can tell you that I am very worried about everything that has come out on television. My wish is that you can have peace in your lives and a life without problems. I miss you all very much, mi reyes. It's very hard here, but I have faith that you can reach a good agreement. For now, nothing can be said about how Los Chapitos would react to their father's letter, or if they would act on his expert advice. El Chapo was known for his activities with the Sinaloa cartel, a legacy Los Chapitos have tried to follow in recent years. However, with the pressure from the United States threatening them, would they create a legacy of their own in the criminal underworld, or would they end up in an American prison like their father? El Chapo's rise to power. The tale of El Chapo captivates the imagination like a gripping crime novel. Until his arrest in 2014, he ruled over Sinaloa, his kingdom, with the power and influence of a monarch. Cocaine, marijuana, amphetamines, most of the substances that found their way into the hands of American consumers passed through the meticulous operation of El Chapo and his men. Standing at a mere 5 feet 5 inches tall, he was a force to be reckoned with, fueled by unwavering determination. Contrary to the image of a brutal dictator, El Chapo earned the trust of his subordinates instead of imposing dominance. Born on April 4, 1957, in the humble village of La Tuna de Badiraguado, nestled within the Sierra Madre Mountains of Sinaloa, El Chapo grew up in a family deeply entrenched in the opium trade. Day after day, his family toiled in the cultivation of opium poppies, working from dawn until dusk. El Chapo's journey began at the bottom, catering to his older brothers and delivering their lunches while dreaming of a way out of the perpetual poverty that had plagued his ancestors. In those times, Sinaloa was under the control of El Padrino, Miguel Ángel Félix Gallardo, who alongside his partners, Ernesto Don Nato Fonseca Carrillo and Rafael Caro Quintero, held dominion over the flow of drugs within Mexico. It was only natural for the ambitious young El Chapo to align himself with the organization and take on his first significant challenge, overseeing the transportation of drugs from the fields to the border. To climb to the top, he had to be ruthless, showing no mercy for those who faltered or succumbed to temptation. Mistakes were swiftly eliminated, ensuring a simple yet effective operation. El Chapo's unwavering dedication and competence soon garnered him favor, propelling him to become one of El Padrino's most trusted confidants. Under the guidance of El Padrino, El Chapo learned the art of survival as a drug trafficker. He also adopted a modest lifestyle, eschewing flashiness and excesses just like Felix Gallardo. Although he married 4 times and fathered many children, El Chapo didn't surround himself with large groups of women. Instead, he kept his inner circle tight-knit and family-oriented, seeking strength in the blood ties that bound them. When El Padrino fell into the clutches of the law, the race to find a successor ensued. El Chapo remained loyal to his mentor, choosing to maintain a low profile and keep his family close. He relocated from Sinaloa to Guadalajara, El Padrino's last known residence, while establishing his organization's base in Agua Prieta, a border town in Sonora conveniently situated near the United States. From the shadows, El Chapo oversaw the rapid expansion of his criminal empire. His travels were shrouded in secrecy, with rare sightings amidst a flurry of rumors. El Chapo and his associates utilized every mode of transportation available to smuggle drugs into the United States: planes, trucks, rail cars, tankers, and cars. In 1993, authorities stumbled upon an underground tunnel, a colossal construction nearly 1,500 feet long and 65 feet below the surface, intended to connect Tijuana to San Diego. Although El Chapo's arrest in 1993 would seemingly curtail his criminal enterprise, he continued to operate from prison with astonishing efficiency. The maximum security prison Puente Grande became his new headquarters, but after 8 years, the looming threat of extradition to the United States prompted his audacious escape. On the evening of January 19, 2001, El Chapo orchestrated a meticulously planned breakout, aided by a bribed guard. Concealed in a cart of dirty laundry, he navigated unguarded hallways and unlocked doors until he reached the prison's parking lot. There, he leaped into the trunk of a waiting Chevrolet Monte Carlo, driven by his accomplice El Chito, and vanished into the night. El Chapo's daring escape elevated him to the status of a folk hero, a legend whose influence remained intact. With the aid of his trusted allies, Ismael Zambada Garcia, Ignacio Coronel Villarreal, and Juan Jose Esparragoza Moreno, known respectively as El Mayo, Nacho, and El Azul, El Chapo reigned over Mexican drug trafficking for a decade, firmly establishing the Sinaloa cartel's dominance since its inception in 1989. El Chapo's final arrest. After relentless manhunts, arrests, escapes, and recaptures, Mexico began the process of extraditing El Chapo to the United States. However, the road to extradition was not without its challenges. El Chapo's lawyers employed numerous tactics to defend against extradition, prolonging the process for up to 6 years. One crucial requirement for extradition was the United States' assurance that the death penalty would not be sought if El Chapo were found guilty of homicide charges. The intricate legal maneuvers and complex negotiations added fuel to the already intense narrative surrounding the notorious drug lord. On May 5, 2016, El Chapo was transferred to a prison near Ciudad Juarez, situated close to the Texas border. Mexico anticipated extraditing him to the United States by February 2017. However, a shocking incident threw a wrench into the proceedings. On October 16, federal judge Vicente Antonio Bermudez Zacarias, who was involved in El Chapo's extradition case, was assassinated while jogging near Mexico City. The sinister act underscored the high stakes and risks involved in the pursuit of justice against one of the world's most notorious criminals. Finally, on January 19, 2017, the long-awaited extradition took place, and El Chapo was handed over to the United States to face charges related to his leadership of the Sinaloa cartel. The Mexican government confirmed the extradition, emphasizing that it complied with constitutional requirements and bilateral treaties, and stated that El Chapo's human rights were not violated during the process. Upon his arrival in the United States, El Chapo was confined to the maximum security wing of the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York. The stage was set for the legal proceedings to commence, as El Chapo faced a slew of charges in multiple U.S. indictments, ranging from drug trafficking to money laundering, kidnapping, and murder. His first appearance in the U.S. court occurred on January 20, 2017, where El Chapo pleaded not guilty to all charges with the assistance of a translator. Over time, he replaced his federal public defenders with a new legal team. Acting United States Attorney General Sally Yates highlighted his alleged leadership of a vast criminal enterprise responsible for flooding the streets with drugs and perpetuating violence and misery in communities. Pre-trial motions and preparations ensued, surrounded by intense media coverage and the weight of El Chapo's infamous reputation. The trial was dubbed the Trial of the Century, as global attention focused on the proceedings. Extraordinary measures were taken to ensure the safety and anonymity of jurors and witnesses due to El Chapo's history of intimidation and violence. The trial was anticipated to last approximately 4 months, presenting a monumental legal showdown. In a courtroom appearance in June 2018, El Chapo's defense hinted at their strategy, suggesting that he might have been a subordinate within the Sinaloa cartel rather than its leader. They requested additional information from the government to support this possibility. U.S. District Judge Brian Cogan initially scheduled the trial for September 2018, later rescheduling it for November. The Brooklyn courthouse was surrounded by a massive security perimeter, with authorities even considering alternative methods of transportation to avoid disruptions caused by transporting El Chapo from his prison cell. As opening arguments commenced on November 13, 2018, the stage was set for a trial expected to span several months, each moment filled with anticipation and intrigue. Throughout the trial, the prosecution presented a staggering 56 witnesses, including cartel members and federal agents, to build their case against El Chapo. Notably, 14 of these witnesses were individuals who had close ties to El Chapo himself. Their testimonies shed light on the extent and operations of the narcotics trade, detailing the intricacies of smuggling cocaine from South America into Central America and ultimately into the United States. The witnesses described a web of smuggling routes, front companies, and stash houses utilized by the Sinaloa cartel and its allies. Photographs and videos of seized shipments and vehicles were shared by the prosecution, providing tangible evidence of the illicit activities. One particularly compelling witness, Christian Rodriguez, detailed his role as an FBI informant, which granted the Bureau access to El Chapo's clandestine communications network. Rodriguez's cooperation allowed the Bureau to monitor El Chapo's contacts, including his wife and mistress, using specialized BlackBerry devices and Flexisby malware. The revelations offered a glimpse into the clandestine world of the drug lord and his operations. After 6 days of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict on February 12, 2019. El Chapo was found guilty on all 10 counts presented to them. Guzman appeared momentarily shocked when the verdict was read, but later smiled and waved at his wife before leaving the courtroom. The defense expressed disappointment while acknowledging the jury's decision, vowing to appeal the verdict. The most significant charge, operating a continuing criminal enterprise, carried a mandatory sentence of life imprisonment. Guzman was found guilty of 25 of the 27 predicate offenses that formed the basis of this charge. On July 17, 2019, Judge Kogan handed down a sentence of life plus 30 years, accompanied by an order for Guzman to forfeit property worth over $12.6 billion. El Chapo was subsequently transferred to ADX Florence, the Supermax prison in Colorado, where he is currently serving his sentence. Los Chapitos. El Chapo's alleged letter was directed at 4 of his sons, who are collectively known as Los Chapitos. But who are these men looking to live out their father's legacy? El Chapo's reign might be over, but his legacy lives on through his 4 sons, Joaquin Guzman Lopez, Ovidio Guzman Lopez, Ivan Archibaldo Guzman Salazar, and Jesus Alfredo Guzman Salazar. Los Chapitos, as they are known, have emerged as key figures in the cartel's criminal operations, striving to inherit their father's empire and establish their dominance. Among the siblings, Ovidio has captured the most attention in recent years. He earned a place on the U.S. Treasury Department's sanctions list in 2012 and was indicted in 2019. Ivan and Jesus Alfredo, too, have played significant roles within the Sinaloa cartel. In 2016, they were kidnapped by the rival Jalisco cartel New Generation, only to be released later. Jesus Alfredo, the most wanted son, has landed on the DEA's most wanted list. U.S. prosecutors have indicted him on drug trafficking charges alongside his father and other cartel leaders. He is believed to hold an important international role within the organization, having spent time in Colombia under the protection of one of Medellin's powerful criminal gangs, La Terraza. Joaquin, the lesser-known son, has maintained a relatively low profile compared to his brothers. However, he was indicted alongside Ovidio in 2019 for conspiring to traffic drugs into the United States. While details about Joaquin's involvement remain scarce, U.S. prosecutors allege that he played a significant part in the Sinaloa cartel's operations for a decade. In the absence of their father, Los Chapitos have engaged in a power struggle with El Mayo, another prominent figure within the Sinaloa cartel, and their uncle, El Guano. The siblings, driven by a sense of entitlement, have clashed with these influential figures, seeking supreme control over their father's empire. Violent confrontations between the two sides have claimed lives and underscored Los Chapitos' determination. Despite the mounting challenges, the Chapitos have only become more audacious in their quest for dominance. They have launched armed offensives and seized control of crucial drug trafficking corridors, displaying their increasing firepower and resourcefulness. In early 2023, the arrest of Ovidio triggered a violent response in Sinaloa, demonstrating the Sinaloa cartel's rapid mobilization and resilience on their home turf. At the heart of the Chapitos operations lies the lucrative international drug trade. According to U.S. indictments, the Chapitos are heavily involved in trafficking vast quantities of drugs, including cocaine, marijuana, methamphetamine, and the powerful synthetic opioid fentanyl, into the United States. Their extensive network of contacts throughout Latin America enables them to adapt to shifting drug markets and exploit emerging opportunities. Not content with dominating the U.S. market alone, the Chapitos have also set their sights on other lucrative destinations, such as Australia. Their ability to expand their reach beyond traditional boundaries demonstrates their ambition and strategic vision. Geographically, the Chapitos exert their influence primarily in their birthplace of Sinaloa State, particularly in the capital city of Culiacan. While they hold sway in urban centers, their father's former right-hand man, El Mayo, maintains a stronghold in the rural areas surrounding the capital. The struggle for control between the two factions has created a volatile situation that continues to unfold. The Sinaloa cartel's reach extends far beyond the borders of Sinaloa, with operations stretching from major cities like New York City to Buenos Aires, and an estimated presence in as many as 50 countries. The feud between the Chapitos and El Mayo spilled over into the states of Baja California and Sonora, further escalating tensions. Reports even suggest that the Chapitos have been attempting to extend their influence into Mexico City, a move that has not gone unnoticed by the authorities. While the Chapitos have amassed a formidable network of allies, they have also faced significant challenges from internal and external adversaries. El Mayo, their primary internal foe, continues to pose a threat, using his deep-rooted connections to maintain control. Frictions with their uncle El Guano over territorial control and alleged extortion payments have further complicated the family dynamics. The Chapitos have also found themselves locked in a long-standing battle with the Beltran Leyva organization, a former ally of the Sinaloa cartel. The bitter feud erupted in violence, including the looting of El Chapo's mother's home, driving residents from the area and leaving a trail of bloodshed in its wake. As the Chapitos strive for dominance, they have forged alliances with former rivals and longtime associates across several states. The CJNG has benefited from the ongoing feud, solidifying its control over parts of Mexico. However, the Chapitos view the CJNG as a formidable enemy, engaging in a fierce struggle for ultimate control of Mexico's vast criminal economies. Allegations even suggest that the CJNG's leader, El Mencho, has assembled a hit squad to hunt down and eliminate El Chapo's sons. Looking to the future, the Chapitos appear to have an advantage in terms of longevity. El Mayo's declining health and battles with diabetes indicate a potential shift in power. However, the Chapitos have yet to fully wrest control of the Sinaloa cartel from El Mayo, highlighting his resilience and the deep roots he has within the organization. Nevertheless, the Chapitos continue to tighten their grip on power, expanding their territory to strategic locations along the U.S. border, specializing in the trafficking of synthetic drugs, and leveraging their growing reputation through the Chapiza movement. They have positioned themselves as formidable contenders. Culiacanazo, the hunt for El Raton. Even though the letter was addressed to all four sons, El Chapo named one son. He said, "Check the list that the lawyer has. Those are the ones you want so that you can make good points with these friends, so that things get better for El Raton." El Raton is Ovidio Guzman Lopez, the member of Los Chapitos who has been the least lucky with the authorities in recent years. He has been arrested twice in special raids referred to as Culiacanazo 1.0 and 2.0. It all began with a daring attempt to apprehend El Raton, but what was supposed to be a routine operation quickly spiraled into a violent confrontation that showcased the extraordinary power of the cartel. As a large convoy of vehicles closed in on El Raton's house in Culiacan, Sinaloa, Mexican security forces faced fierce resistance. The military managed to capture El Raton, but they soon found themselves surrounded by a formidable force of around 700 cartel gunmen. Chaos erupted as the cartels unleashed a wave of attacks on civilian, government, and military targets throughout the city. The heavily armed cartel enforcers were equipped with improvised armored vehicles, bulletproof vests, .50 caliber rifles, rocket launchers, grenade launchers, and heavy machine guns. The ensuing battle sent shockwaves through Culiacan as massive towers of smoke rose from burning cars and vehicles. The cartel went on to take hostages, including 8 servicemen and the housing unit where the military families lived in Culiacan. The situation grew increasingly dire as the city fell under siege by the cartel's overwhelming firepower. The government was faced with a difficult decision: release Ovidio Guzman Lopez or risk further loss of life. El Raton was released. President Andrés Manuel López Obrador defended the controversial decision to release El Raton, arguing that it was done to prevent a greater tragedy and to protect innocent civilians. He emphasized his commitment to pacify the country and avoid further bloodshed. However, he also acknowledged the underestimation of the cartel's strength and vowed to send reinforcements to restore peace in Culiacan. However, the story did not end there. On January 5, 2023, Mexican authorities managed to successfully recapture Guzman Lopez in a pre-dawn raid on his residence in Culiacan. This time, the operation was executed swiftly and with precision, resulting in his transfer to the Altiplano Maximum Security Federal Prison in Almoloya de Juarez. The arrest reignited tensions in the region, leading to further violence and unrest. The United States consulate in Hermosillo reported gunfire, roadblocks, and fires in Culiacan, Los Mochis, and Guasave, urging caution and reiterating their travel advisory for Sinaloa. The United States indicts Los Chapitos. In a part of the letter, El Chapo advised his son saying, "I need you to pay closer attention to the lawyer. He has a good relationship with the prosecutors and says that he can get a good deal. You must think about the future and well-being of the family, but just let everything be done through the lawyers. Do not show your faces or the family. I do not want you to be like this or to continue like this. Try to fix everything. Remember that no one can be trusted, and everyone is going to try to fix their problems at our expense." The Chapitos, collectively indicted for large-scale drug trafficking, money laundering, and violent crimes, are now sought by law enforcement agencies across the globe. 3 brothers remain at large, while Ovidio Guzman Lopez was apprehended by Mexican authorities in Culiacan, Sinaloa, Mexico on January 5, 2023, and awaits extradition proceedings. The charges against the Chapitos were unsealed during a press conference held by U.S. Attorney Randy Grossman, Attorney General Merrick Garland, and other officials at the U.S. Department of Justice. The charges stem from a multi-district investigation that spanned decades and involved the Southern District of California, the Department of Justice Criminal Division's Narcotic and Dangerous Drugs Section, the Northern District of Illinois, and their law enforcement partners. A related indictment charging 3 of the brothers was also unsealed in the Southern District of New York. At the heart of the charges lies the Continuing Criminal Enterprise Statute, which specifically targets large-scale drug traffickers responsible for long-term and complex drug conspiracies. The indictment paints a vivid picture of the Sinaloa cartel's operations over the past 15 years. It highlights the alleged drug transportation and distribution networks, the elaborate financial infrastructure used to launder hundreds of millions of dollars in illicit proceeds, and the use of violence to maintain power within the cartel. According to the indictment, the Chapitos are accused of obtaining and transporting multi-ton quantities of cocaine from Central and South America, including countries such as Colombia, Ecuador, Venezuela, Peru, Panama, Costa Rica, Honduras, and Guatemala. They allegedly stored the cocaine throughout Mexico and transported it across the U.S.-Mexico border for further distribution within the United States. Additionally, the brothers are implicated in the trafficking of other drugs, including marijuana, heroin, and methamphetamine. They are also accused of obtaining precursor chemicals for the production of synthetic drugs and operating methamphetamine laboratories. To protect their criminal enterprises, the Chapitos and their associates allegedly resorted to various means to evade law enforcement, including the infamous Caliacanazo, where the Mexican National Guard captured and then released El Raton. The indictment further alleges that the Chapitos engaged in violence, including murder, kidnapping, assault, and battery against law enforcement, rival drug traffickers, and even members of their own organization. They reportedly obtained weapons, bribed corrupt officials, and used violence as a means to intimidate and maintain power. The scope of the Chapitos' drug trafficking operation is staggering. They purportedly employed a vast array of transportation methods, including cargo aircraft, private aircraft, submarines, container ships, fishing vessels, and even tunnels. They established networks of couriers, stash houses, and tunnels throughout Mexico and the United States to facilitate their drug trafficking activities. The indictment also highlights their involvement in the distribution of fentanyl, a deadly synthetic opioid that has contributed to the ongoing opioid crisis in the United States. The announcement of the indictments by Attorney General Merrick Garland underscores the seriousness with which the U.S. government views the activities of the Sinaloa cartel and its affiliated members. Garland stated that these enforcement actions represent a comprehensive approach to disrupt fentanyl trafficking and save American lives. As families and communities across the country continue to be devastated by the fentanyl epidemic, U.S. Attorney Randy Grossman echoed Garland's sentiments, stating that the indictment delivers a crushing blow to the Sinaloa cartel and demonstrates the unwavering resolve to dismantle the organization at every level. Grossman commended the collaborative efforts of law enforcement agencies involved in this complex investigation. Through its Narcotics Rewards Program, the U.S. Department of State is offering rewards of up to $10 million for information that results in the capture or conviction of Ivan, Alfredo, and Ovidio, who is currently in a Mexican prison. There are also rewards of up to $5 million for information that results in the capture or conviction of Joaquin Guzman Lopez. While the Chapitos' rise to power may have been inevitable given their family ties, their actions have drawn the attention of law enforcement agencies worldwide. As the Chapitos continue to evade capture, law enforcement agencies are determined to dismantle the Sinaloa cartel and end the violence associated with its criminal activities. The Sinaloa cartel today. El Chapo also used the letter to warn his sons that no one is to be trusted, and given how fast the cartels moved on, this warning shouldn't be shocking. Besides, in the criminal underworld, everyone looks out for his own progress. With the capture and extradition of El Chapo, two formidable figures quickly rose to the top of the drug trafficking hierarchy. Ismael Zambada Garcia, alias El Mayo of the Sinaloa cartel, and Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, alias El Mencho, leader of the Jalisco Cartel New Generation, CJNG, have emerged as the new kings of the Mexican drug trade. El Mayo, long believed to be the true leader of the Sinaloa cartel, has solidified his position at the top following El Chapo's downfall. He wields significant control, making him a crucial figure for the current Mexican administration, led by President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. El Mayo's influence extends throughout Latin America, where the Sinaloa cartel has established its presence. On the other hand, El Mencho has asserted his dominance as the head of the CJNG, which operates in 10 states across Mexico. He has managed to position himself as an untouchable figure within the organization he founded in 2008, initially as an offshoot of the Sinaloa cartel before the two groups went their separate ways. Menacing banners, known as narcomantas, appeared in the state of Sinaloa, bearing messages attributed to El Mayo. One message delivered a clear warning to rival cartels: either line up or I'll line you up. This unmistakable message signifies El Mayo's considerable power and suggests that he will play a crucial role during López Obrador's presidency. His leadership is essential for maintaining order and restoring stability within Mexico's criminal underworld. El Mayo represents the last of the old guard, as other powerful cartel bosses have either met their demise or currently reside behind bars. Before El Chapo, Amado Carrillo Fuentes, also known as the Lord of the Skies, led the Juarez cartel. Following his death, his brother Vicente Carrillo Fuentes took over until his arrest. Alongside them were figures like Rafael Aguilar Guajardo and Juan José Esparragoza Moreno, alias El Azul. The formation of the Sinaloa cartel came after a 4-year hiatus, with El Chapo and El Mayo playing key roles. Under the administration of President Vicente Fox, there was an attempt to unite rival cartels under a single criminal organization known as the Drug Trafficking Federation. The goal was to establish control and reduce violence. Although this initiative did not fully materialize, it set the stage for the Sinaloa cartel to become the world's most powerful drug trafficking organization, with operations spanning around 50 countries. López Obrador's government has taken a unique approach by openly stating that it will not actively pursue the leaders of drug trafficking organizations. This policy, coupled with the president's proposal for amnesty for certain criminals, suggests a tacit agreement between the government and organized crime groups, a so-called Pax Mafiosa. The government needs the cartels to maintain order and exert influence over the criminal landscape. Additionally, drug trafficking remains a significant pillar of Mexico's national economy. While both El Mayo and El Mencho hold substantial power, El Mayo stands out due to his intelligence and ability to manage his operations with minimal unnecessary violence. He represents the government's go-to capo, responsible for aligning belligerent groups that otherwise risk capture or elimination. His recent narcomanta demonstrates a shift in the rules of organized crime in Mexico, as he calls for other cartels to fall in line. With his 4-decade-long tenure in the drug trafficking business, El Mayo's experience and control are unparalleled. He appears untouchable, unscathed by the justice system, and indispensable for López Obrador's mission to pacify and restore order in Mexico. The country's immense size and deep-rooted problems necessitate alliances between the government and organized crime groups to achieve stability. As El Azul once said, social peace does not depend on the government alone, but on agreements reached by the cartels and their leaders. The future of the cartel remains uncertain. Would El Chapo's letter be a driving force for something new? Click the links on your screen for more videos.